Ukrainian President Zelenskyy says Russia is looking for a short truce. He addressed the Halifax International Security Forum Friday. He claimed Russia is seeking a compromise in order to allow its troops simply to regroup. His comments come after Russia withdrew from Kherson last week and after a stray missile hit into NATO territory, Poland. Idaho GOP Senator James Risch also spoke at Friday's conference. He joins us now for the latest on Ukraine and other foreign affairs. There has just been an address by the Ukrainian president to the Halifax conference where you're speaking to us right now. What can you share about his address?
Well, he as always, was very confident. He's an excellent representative of his people. I've spoken with him directly, of course, over the period of time that this has been going on, and he reflects and truly wants to reflect where the nation, where the Ukrainian people want to go, and that's where he wants to take them, and that's what he laid out. He laid out a number of points that really have got to be addressed if this is going to come to an end. Look, history tells us wars end when one side or the other fight to the point of exhaustion. Neither side's there. They really aren't. On the Ukrainian people's side, and I think President Zelenskyy represents that very well, they will fight to the death before they'll go back under Russia. On the other side, it's a one-man war. One person makes the decisions, and that's Vladimir Putin, and his ego is at a point where it's bruised, and he has lost this war. His objective was to occupy that country. It's obvious to the world, and I would think obvious to him at this point, he will never occupy that country. They will fight with broomsticks in the streets before they'll go back under Russia.
On this missile strike earlier this week in Poland, does the latest intelligence still suggest that this was a Ukrainian air defense missile and not a Russian weapon?
Yeah, I'm on the intelligence committee, and so what I know I really can't talk about here. There are public reports out there that indeed that this was a Russian S-300 missile, but possibly fired by the Ukrainians. But look, none of that makes any difference. The bottom line is the actual cause, the proximate cause of what happened is the Russians. This would not have happened but for the Russians' invasion of Ukraine.
Was NATO's response sufficient to deter further aggression by Vladimir Putin?
Well, I think, first of all, NATO's as strong as it's ever been, really. I think Putin really made the mistake thinking that his invasion would divide NATO. It has done just the opposite. It's brought it together tighter than it's been in many, many years. We're going to get 2 new members here pretty quickly that's going to strengthen it even more. I think it's important that NATO not overreact immediately when something happens, but rather make sure that it has all the facts before it makes a determination where it wants to go. I think that worked really, really well in this particular situation. And it's ongoing. It's certainly not over yet.
On North Korea, we've had a very high frequency of these missile launches. Does that tell you that the North Korean regime feels emboldened?
It's hard to tell. You ask, what does it tell me? They do this from time to time. I mean, we go along and nothing happens for a long time, and then all of a sudden they ratchet up and start either doing tests or doing launches or whatever. Really, they don't put out a message with it and say we're doing this because. So that leaves one to speculate. And frankly, it's very difficult to do. I'm really. There's a lot of different theories out there as to why Kim Jong-un is doing this. Maybe it's just for relevancy. Maybe it's just for attention. We don't know. And that makes it even more dangerous because it's always best to know what people are thinking. And in these situations, it's almost impossible.
You're on the Intelligence Committee. Does the intelligence suggest that the North Korean missile threat to the U.S. mainland is greater today than it was when President Biden took office?
Well, you're right. I am on the Intelligence Committee, and most of what I know about that, I can't say. What I can say in very general terms is that North Korea does certainly pose a threat to the U.S. mainland with nuclear weapons. The size of it, the urgency of it, or that sort of thing is all classified. I can tell you, having been on there for many years, having watched this for many years, I am very satisfied with the information that our intelligence community is providing to us about what they have, what they're doing. And I'm also very satisfied with the preparations that we have in answer to that. Into the details, I can't go, but I can tell you that this is not something that we're looking the other way on, or that we take lightly, or that isn't very high on our radar. It all is, and the government, the appropriate agencies are handling it with our oversight, and that's what one of the things we do on Intelligence Committee is oversight. I'm very comfortable with where we are.
Senator, thank you for speaking with CBS News.
Good to be with you, Catherine. Thank you for having me.